Another day, another town, and another job. This time I'd landed a gig as a private tutor. The ad said high school student, which usually meant a quiet, studious type. Easy money. The address led me to a sprawling estate, the kind with stone walls and a gate bigger than my last apartment. A formidable woman in a severe business suit greeted me. "You must be Kenji," she said, her voice like ice. "I am Yumi. My sister, Akina, is a challenge. Fail and you'll regret it. Challenge accepted." Yumi led me through polished wooden hallways that smelled of cypress and old money. We stopped before a sliding door. "This is Akina's study," she announced. "She is to remain in this room for the duration of your lessons. Is that clear?" I nodded, but my eyes were already wandering, scanning for any scenic views. The house was a fortress, but every fortress has its weak points. The door slid open, and there she was. Akina. She wasn't just a challenge, she was a masterpiece. Long, dark hair, eyes that could drown a man, and a school uniform that seemed to be fighting a losing battle against Akina. She looked up from her book, A Picture of Innocence. "You're my new tutor?" she asked, her voice a soft melody. My brain short-circuited. "Study. Yes, study," I stammered. This was going to be harder than I thought. The first lesson was a disaster. I tried to explain calculus, but my mind kept calculating other things. The way her hair fell across her shoulder, the curve of her pencil. I found myself staring, lost in thought, until she cleared her throat. "Sensei. Are you all right?" she asked. I snapped back to reality, sweat beading on my forehead. Of course, just admiring the elegant simplicity of the quadratic formula. Yumi was always lurking. I'd catch a glimpse of her shadow in the hallway or hear the soft rustle of her suit. She'd bring tea, her eyes like a hawk's, scrutinizing my every move. "Is the lesson proceeding satisfactorily?" she'd ask, her tone leaving no room for error. "Perfectly," I'd chirp, trying to look as professional as possible while mentally composing odes to her sister's uniform. One afternoon, Akina dropped her pen. It rolled under the desk. As she bent down to retrieve it, the world seemed to slow down. The view, it was a symphony of fabric and form, a landscape of untold beauty. I felt my nose begin to bleed. A classic rookie mistake. "Sensei, your nose!" she cried, rushing to my side with a tissue. Her proximity was intoxicating. I decided a change of scenery was in order. To truly understand physics, I declared, we must observe it in the real world. "Let's go to the garden." Yumi was hesitant, but Akina's pleading eyes won her over. The garden was magnificent with a large koi pond. "Imagine the displacement of water as a koi jumps," I said, trying to sound educational. My real goal, of course, was the garden's sprinkler system. I accidentally tripped over the hose, sending a jet of water straight at Akina. Her white school blouse became translucent. It was a moment of pure, unadulterated scientific discovery. "Oh dear," I feigned, trying to hide my triumphant grin. Oh, how clumsy of me. Yumi was not amused. She appeared with a towel and a glare that could freeze lava. "The lesson is over for today," she stated, wrapping the towel around Akina's shoulders. As she led her sister away, she shot me a look that promised a slow, painful demise. I just smiled and waved. "See you tomorrow." The next day, the atmosphere was tense. Yumi sat in on the entire lesson, a silent, judgmental statue in the corner of the room. I had to be on my best behavior. I focused on history, on the heroic tales of samurai and shoguns, but even then, my mind drifted to the forbidden scrolls of anatomy. I needed a new plan, a way to get some private tutoring time. I noticed Akina struggling with her chemistry homework. "Ah, the delicate art of molecular bonding," I exclaimed. "This requires a hands-on demonstration." I pulled out a set of molecular models. My plan was simple: get close enough to help her assemble them. As our hands brushed while connecting two atoms, a jolt of electricity passed between us. Or maybe that was just me. Akina blushed, a faint pink dusting her cheeks. "You're a very good teacher, Sensei," she whispered. My heart did a backflip. Progress. That evening, as I was leaving, I forgot my notebook in the study. I crept back, hoping for a lucky break. The door was slightly ajar. I peeked inside. Akina was there, but she wasn't studying. She was practicing a dance, her movements graceful and fluid. The way her skirt swirled, it was poetry in motion. I must have made a sound because she suddenly stopped and turned. Our eyes met. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then Then a slow smile spread across her face. "You saw?" she asked, not embarrassed, but intrigued. I just nodded, speechless. The next day, the dynamic had shifted. There was a new, unspoken understanding between us. During a break, she asked me, "Sensei, what do you want to do with your life?" I paused. "I want to learn everything," I said, "and experience everything." My eyes met hers. Everything. The day of the exam arrived. I was a nervous wreck, not for me, but for her. Had I taught her anything, or had I just been a drooling idiot? Yumi drove her to the school, giving me one last warning glare before they left. I spent the day pacing the garden, replaying every lesson in my head. When they returned, Akina was beaming. She held up her test paper, a perfect score circled in red. "I did it, Sensei," she cheered, throwing her arms around me in a hug. I was stunned. For a moment, I forgot everything else. Her embrace was warm, and she smelled like cherry blossoms. Even Yumi looked impressed. A small, almost imperceptible smile touched her lips. "It seems you are not as incompetent as you appear," she said. It was the highest praise I'd ever received. She handed me my payment, a thick envelope of cash. "Your services are no longer required." It was time to go. I packed my small bag. Akina came to see me off at the gate. "Will I ever see you again?" she asked, her voice small. I looked at her, at this girl who had somehow managed to teach me something in return. "The world is a small place," I said with a wink, "and I've still got a lot to learn." As I walked away, I felt a strange mix of triumph and melancholy. I'd done the job, gotten the girl to pass her exams, and earned my pay. But leaving always had a bittersweet taste. I turned back for one last look. Akina was still standing there, waving. Later that night, I was celebrating at a local ramen shop, my envelope of cash tucked safely away. I was recounting my victory to the old man behind the counter when the door slid open. It was Yumi. My ramen went down the wrong pipe. "I have a proposition for you," she said, sitting down next to me. Her usual severity was gone, replaced by something else, something I couldn't quite read. Akina is not the only one in my family who requires specialized instruction. My eyes widened. Was this really happening? She explained that she had dedicated her life to her family's business and her sister's upbringing. She'd never had time for herself, for experiences. "You taught my sister how to pass an exam," she said, her voice low. "I want you to teach me other things." My mind was racing. The stern, untouchable Yumi was offering me the job of a lifetime, a private tutor for the woman who had terrorized me for weeks. The irony was delicious. The possibilities were endless. I looked at her, at the fire in her eyes, and a slow grin spread across my face. "Class is in session," I said, raising my sake cup, "and the first lesson is on the house." She laughed, a genuine beautiful sound. It looked like I'd be staying in this town a little longer than I'd planned. Study time was about to get a whole lot more interesting. On to the next lesson.